Ever notice how some trading platforms feel genuinely live, prices ticking up and down the instant the market moves, while others feel like they're refreshing in steps, almost like a slideshow? That difference isn't random, and it's not about your internet connection. It comes down to one architectural decision made by the people who built the platform. Today we're going to look at exactly what that decision is, why it matters, and what it tells you about the quality of the tools you're using. Let's start with REST, which stands for Representational State Transfer, though the name matters far less than what it actually does. REST is a request and response model. Your application sends a request to the server, give me the current price of this stock. The server looks it up, sends back the answer, and the connection closes. That's the full interaction, clean, simple, and completely finished. If your application wants an updated price, it has to send another request, and another, and another. Every single update requires a brand new ask. This approach is called polling. Your application repeatedly checking in, like someone calling a friend every few minutes to ask anything new, even when the answer is almost always no. REST is not a bad technology. It's genuinely excellent for a huge range of tasks. Placing an order, checking your account balance, pulling historical price data, cancelling a trade. These are all things you ask for once and need once. REST handles them perfectly. The problem only appears when you try to use a request-response model for something that needs to feel continuous and live. Asking for a price update 100 times a second is wasteful, slow, and creates unnecessary load on both sides of the connection. Now let's look at WebSocket. And this is where things get genuinely interesting. WebSocket takes a completely different approach. Instead of opening and closing a connection for every single request, WebSocket establishes one persistent connection between your application and the server, and then keeps it open. Both sides can send data to each other at any time, in either direction, without waiting for the other to ask first. Think of it like a phone call versus a series of text messages. Text messages, REST, require you to compose a message, send it, wait for a reply, and then start the process again for the next thing you want to know. A phone call, WebSocket, opens once, and then both people can talk freely back and forth in real time for as long as they need. For live market data, this changes everything. Instead of your app asking what's the price over and over, your app subscribes to a price feed, and the server pushes every update the instant it happens. A price tick occurs on the exchange, it flows to your broker's server, and your app receives it immediately over the open WebSocket connection. No waiting, no asking, no round trip overhead per update. The connection is already there. The data flows. Let's talk about why this matters directly for your experience as a trader. When a platform uses WebSocket for live data, prices update the instant they change. The chart moves with the market in real time. The order book refreshes tick by tick. The bid and ask spread updates continuously. Everything feels alive because it is alive. Data is being pushed to your screen the moment it exists, not the moment your app remembered to ask for it. When a platform relies on REST polling for live prices, and some still do, the experience is fundamentally different even if the underlying data is identical. Prices appear to update in steps. There's a slight but perceptible lag between what's happening on the market and what you see on screen because your app is only getting a snapshot every time it polls, not a continuous stream. During fast-moving markets, that lag becomes more pronounced. The polling interval that felt fine in a quiet market feels frustratingly slow when every second counts. This is why two platforms can be showing you technically accurate prices. Neither one is lying, and one can feel dramatically more responsive than the other. It's not the data that's different, it's the delivery mechanism. Now let's talk about the trade-off, because WebSocket isn't without its own complications. A persistent open connection is more complex to build and maintain than a simple request-response cycle. The server has to track every open connection, potentially thousands of them simultaneously from different users, and manage them all continuously. If a connection drops, the client needs logic to detect that it dropped and reconnect automatically, or the data stream just silently stops. Getting that reconnect logic right is one of the trickier parts of building anything on WebSocket. This is actually why live price tickers sometimes freeze without warning and require a manual refresh to start updating again. The WebSocket connection dropped, maybe due to a network hiccup, a server-side timeout, or a brief interruption, and the reconnect logic either failed or didn't exist. The app looks fine, no error message appears, but it's showing you a frozen price from the moment the connection died, not the current market price. This is a known, solved engineering problem. Good platforms handle reconnection gracefully and automatically, usually within a second or two without you ever noticing. But when you do notice a frozen ticker that snaps back to life the moment you refresh, that's almost certainly what happened, not a bug in the price data, a dropped WebSocket connection that wasn't handled cleanly. Here's the practical signal to take away from this when you're evaluating trading platforms. A platform with a genuinely live-feeling price feed that updates smoothly and continuously is almost certainly using WebSocket streaming under the hood. That's a meaningful quality signal about their engineering. Building good WebSocket infrastructure with proper connection management, automatic reconnection, and scalable connection handling requires real investment and technical care. A platform where prices appear to update in noticeable steps, or where the live chart feels slightly behind during fast market moments, is likely relying on REST polling for market data. It might still be a perfectly usable platform for many trading styles, especially if you're not trading in fast-moving conditions, but it tells you something real about the engineering priorities of whoever built it. Neither answer is automatically a deal-breaker. But now you have a way to look at a platform's live data behavior and draw an informed conclusion about what's running underneath without ever seeing a line of their code. Let's recap. REST is a request-response model. Your app asks, the server answers, the connection closes. Great for occasional actions like placing orders or pulling account data. WebSocket is a persistent open connection. The server pushes data to your app the instant it exists, no asking required. Essential for anything that needs to feel genuinely live. Most well-built trading platforms use both. REST for actions, WebSocket for continuous data streams. And now when you see a price ticker freeze and snap back, you know exactly what just happened. Next week, we go deeper into the actual language that exchanges and brokers use to talk to each other at the institutional level. The FIX protocol. It was invented in 1992, it's still running most of the world's financial markets today, and it's far more interesting than it sounds. Subscribe so you don't miss it.